Hello, everyone, and this is Gary Maloney here for Sacktown Slam. Now, I have not been here or made a video for a month, and I have to admit, it has been a very long month for me. It's been a very long month emotionally and personally, so that's kind of why you haven't seen any videos. But for the moment, that cloud has sort of been lifted. I do have a little bit of a busier schedule, internships and all that. But I'm still committed to this channel, and I wanted to put a video up with my predictions for Great Balls of Fire. Hell of a name for a stupid ass sounding pay per view, but probably going to have one of the best matches of the year, regardless of whether it's a one and done or not. I'll get to that in a moment. But I'll be honest with you, there has been a lot of breaking news in the last 24 hours. So I'm going to cover that first, and then I'm going to cover some other pieces of news, and then my predictions for tomorrow's Great Balls of Fire. I am hoping that this is up by that moment in time. Can't really, do much about it because my internet speed sucks. And, just to let you know, Frontier, you can kind of up the speed just a little bit here in the valleys of California. Just a little bit. I mean, Logitech, they hooked me up with a replacement for my camera, which was also part of the problem and why I couldn't do videos. And I'll be honest with you, this is a better camera than I actually had beforehand. And it might be the program I downloaded with it. Don't want to sound like too much of a, spokesman for Logitech. But there's some good stuff there. I'll admit that much. Um, Getting to the first big news story of the day, because this broke only a few hours ago. My boy, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, won the U.S. Championship at a house show in Madison Square Gardens. Now, not a whole lot's known about this because this news broke out only about 5 or 6 hours ago, but he won it. I'm assuming they're going to talk about this on Tuesday, and this is more than likely is what's going to lead to a rematch at Battleground, and then whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and Kevin Owens and obviously AJ Styles are going to go their separate ways for SummerSlam. Kind of figured that was what was going to be the case, but I have to be honest, I didn't see it going down quite like this. WWE rarely, if ever, the only time I have ever seen them switch titles like this is with NXT, but they rarely swap titles during a house show. Like, this is the first time in I don't know how long, especially for a mid card or a major title. That's a big, big thing. So, congrats to AJ Styles. I'm very interested in how they're going to explain this on Tuesday. Anyway, the other piece of really big news that came out within the last 24 hours or so, Austin Aeries is done in WWE, at least for now. Apparently, according to just about everyone at this point, he has felt that he's been pigeonholed in the cruiserweight division, which I don't blame him. If I'm anyone other than fucking Neville at this point, I would feel pigeonholed in that division. And, felt that he was doomed to a substandard division and felt that he was capable of more, which I also think is very true. And quite frankly, the cruiserweight division has a lot of talent, but not a whole lot of, essentially, they just don't have a lot of character. They lack in character because they are given below standard time to prove their character. In fact, the only person, or people, I should say, that have been given a chance to prove their character are TJ Perkins, which, ooh, TJP, yeah, I won the Cruiserweight Classic, and I used to be Suicide, yeah, who cares? Quite frankly, this is a guy that I think his character's been mishandled from right out the gate. I mean, not from out the gate, because obviously, if Zack Sabre Jr. and Kota Ibushi weren't going to sign, then TJP or Grand Metalik were obviously going to win the Cruiserweight Classic. Not sure why you chose TJ Perkins, but okay. But this guy should have been your dominant force out of the gate. Instead, you decided to play flippity flop with the title, and you couldn't get a definitive champion. And then Neville came along and just showed you what a real champion is supposed to look like. Now you're having a problem finding somebody to take it off Neville that's believable. And without Austin Aries there, I just don't think you're going to be able to do that. I honestly don't. And you're putting Akira Tozawa versus fucking Neville on the pre-show? Like, we're supposed to believe that Akira Tozawa is going to cause a title change on the pre-show? I certainly don't believe that. Do you? No. I mean, I don't want to talk about this too terribly much because I'll bury this into the ground, but this is not a match that should have been on the pre-show. But I'll get to that later. It's going to be hard for me to believe whoever takes the title off of Neville is worthy of taking it off of Neville. It's like getting a title off of Brock Lesnar at this point. Because Neville is the Brock Lesnar of the Cruiserweight division. Let's not kid ourselves. So without Austin Aries there, a believable candidate to do so, it just seems like you've sort of dug yourself a grave with this division. And I love the Cruiserweight Classic, but you done fucked up not getting Zack Sabre Jr. and freaking Kota Ibushi. Because without those two guys, you better start pushing Grand Metalik quick. Very quick. I mean, I don't know whether they didn't have any ripe bananas. Maybe they were all brown and spotty. Maybe that's why he left. But the news in reality is that A, he didn't get along with people very well backstage, which that was a big problem with him in Ring of Honor. Another one was that he was having neck and knee injuries, which I don't necessarily doubt that either. But WWE just suddenly letting somebody out of their contract is definitely outside the norm. So you've got to sort of, pick and choose which ones you truly want to believe. I think that you eventually have to and apparently this thing is deciding to lag on me for some reason, but I will try to get through this my best. It just doesn't feel like the Cruiserweight division without Austin Aries, because now without an heir to the King of the Cruiserweights, you're not getting what you want. Now let's go to a couple of other things. because I was going to make a bigger video about this. But it does appear that the fuck JBL initiative worked. Because 2 weeks ago on NXT, we saw the return of Mamma Mia Esuacio. And I could not be happier for Mauro Ranallo because, obviously Triple H looked back at this and said, we fucked up. We have, or had at the time, the biggest guy in our ranks. And he's about to do a fight between Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. What the fuck are we doing? We fired him. Or we didn't fire him. That's not entirely the truth. We quote unquote let him go because we liked the good old Southern boy better. Stupid. Very stupid. And you want to know why that was stupid? It was because A, JBL doesn't know the difference between a headlock and a hammerlock. And B, because Mauro Ranallo has so much more charisma and enthusiasm about what he does. He gives a shit. JBL, he's like, man, whatever. I'd rather see you die than commentate with you because you're a fucking idiot. I'm too good for you. I'm going to go have shots with Vince McMahon backstage after this is all over, so go fuck yourself. That's really what JBL sounds like. Come on. If you're going to be that unenthusiastic about the product, then maybe it's time for you to leave. And maybe that's why you weren't in this year's 2K WWE video game. As an announcer, obviously, but because you suck. They didn't even have you as one of the returning wrestlers for the classics. Lo and behold, I know a few things that most people do not know about 2K18 that they're not saying. I'm not entirely sure why, because they dropped a lot of spoilers just in that promo trailer with Seth Rollins. Like all those people that he was burning down the costumes of and beating down the Andre the Giant freaking, head off of the statue with the sledgehammer. All those people are supposedly in the game. Now, the only reason I say supposedly is because I guess for now, there are certain things that are guaranteed and certain things that are a rumor. We will probably know about everything once SummerSlam comes around. Now, as far as 2K18, and while we're on that subject, there are a few things that were false that were reported about it, and a few things that are true. What was false? There is no GM mode. Boo. There is also no create a finisher. Boo. Other than that, I don't have too much room to complain unless the glitches are still there. And the fact that it's going to all be next gen and it's not going to be produced for the 360 or PS3, we may not get those problems. I'm a little concerned just because this is a WWE game. It is a recurring game every year. So you know that they're going to be using repetitious programming. And what that means is think of like a Madden game. They usually use the same programming every 6 to 7 years and then they change it up. The last time they changed it up was, I want to say, 2014, and it's not quite 2010 yet, so they may be carrying certain things over. They did promise that they were changing the pin system and the submission system, which is a good thing. They are changing the way holds are done, which is a good thing. You'll be able to pick people up and then put them in a hold for a body slam, or a hold for a DDT, or a hold for an ankle lock. I it's a very interesting. It was described very interestingly, but not too much in depth. Now, I wasn't at the conference, obviously, because I'm a nobody at this point. But, after going through YouTube and sifting through a lot of that, I mean, a lot of people had the same opinions that they wanted to see more of the game. Now, it supposedly has a revamped graphics engine, let's hope so, and some other revamped stuff, like a create a match, which we kind of already had that already, but at least we can do male versus female, which is kind of cool. Like, I could have Asuka kick the Miz's ass if I wanted to, so I can live with that. It also allows for 8 people to be in the ring, whereas the previous games, I think it was 6. So that's a big improvement. There is still no create a music on there. Boo. That's like my third problem with the game, because people have been asking for this ever since the PS4 and the Xbox One hit. They have the capability to do so. Why they are not adding this in, I have no clue. None. So, I don't know. 2K just being kind of lazy. I mean, if you're not going to give us that, give us our fucking GM mode. Outside of that, not a whole lot more is known. There's supposedly 200 characters. I would not bank on that. I really, really wouldn't, just because that's a lot of work. That, and they put in new commentary team with new commentary, so we are not getting the same old garbage from Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, and fucking JBL. So thank goodness for that. It's going to be Corey Graves, Michael Cole, and Byron Saxton. The claim that Byron Saxton, with him being in there, he's not even on Raw anymore, and that, oh, well, we couldn't do this, or we did this, or he moved post-production, so then change it. Or put multiple commentators on there. Shit, give us a game that'll let us have whatever the fuck commentators we want. Like, if I want a JR, let me put good old JR in there. If I want Nigel McGuinness, let me put Nigel McGuinness in there. If I want, anyone who's on the current WWE commentary roster, let me put them in there and see how it builds. Because that could be an incredible experiment for WWE. Don't know why I haven't done it already, but there you go. That's my personal opinion. Now, next big story here. As far as Mauro Ranallo's return, and I had to write this down because these were some of the things that he had agreed to. According to Wrestling Observer Radio, he stated that WWE has always been trying to get Ranallo back since April 30th. This was his last episode was, I want to say, middle of March. It was like before WrestleMania, but I remember them saying, well, he couldn't get here because of weather, but also during that time, David Otunga wasn't able to, so that was a bit more believable. The following week, though, started to get suspicious. They said he was sick, and then they just stopped mentioning him after that, which is when I knew, well, something's up. So then, anyway, WWE will let him work Showtime Boxing and the Bellator, even though historically they did not let guys work outside the company. This is because this is the greatest combat freaking announcer in the history of combat announcing. Yeah, I think WWE is getting the better part of the deal here. So then he will call Showtime's Mayweather McGregor fight in August, so that is not going to change. Not changing there on that one. It is going to be that one. Either McGregor is going to get his ass kicked, or Mayweather is going to end up with the most humiliating loss ever. So. And then in coming back, he will work with Percy Watson and Nigel McGuinness on NXT. If you guys have seen the last 2 weeks of NXT, you already know that. And that keeping him away from JBL was a part of his contract. A big part of him being on NXT is because it's a smaller audience, it's less pressure, and they tape multiple shows. So he tapes like 3 or 4 shows in a 2-week span, and he gets more time off. And it's pretty much all in Florida, except for like the pay-per-views. Those will kind of sift around. They had their first one outside the country last November in Toronto. So, and they've also had one, actually, it's not their first one outside the country. Their first one outside the country was in London. And then, if you want to count Beast from the East, okay, because there was technically an NXT title shot there. So if you want to go that far back, it would be back to, I want to say 2015. But NXT has been doing all right outside the country, and I don't think that any of those guys, including Mauro Ranallo, would mind at all doing anything outside the country. I could see this guy really sticking with NXT for a while. Now, let's go to what we have all been waiting for, of course, my predictions for Great Balls of Fire. Now, Great Balls of Fire at first was not shaping up to be a great pay-per-view, no pun intended. But the honest truth is there was a fight between Brock Lesnar and Samoa Joe, in which they had to have both, half the roster separate one guy and half the roster separate the other guy. And wow, that got over, I want to say at this point, 8 million views or thereabout. I mean, there's no denying that people wanted this feud. Now, it depends on who you believe at this point as far as how this is going to go down. Wrestling Observer is saying that this is not going to be one and done. and they're saying that they are going to extend this to SummerSlam, have Joe win, have Lesnar possibly win it back. I don't, and then, or have Lesnar win. But if Lesnar wins, they should fast track, in my opinion, Roman Reigns to SummerSlam, because nobody wants to see that shit at WrestleMania again. I mean, come on, we just saw it like 4 years ago. I'm sorry, but Roman Reigns gets way too much attention. He is a Cena whore. I mean, he's a Cena whore in the biggest way a Cena whore can be. And I'm sorry, but it's the truth. And I don't sit here and bullshit about wrestling. That's just not who I am. So, but Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar does not in any way, shape, or form seem like a wonderful main event for WrestleMania. Nakamura and Styles seems like what should be headlining that event. Period. If you do not think that is a headliner, you were hit by the head just a little too hard. Or you took a bump that was very bad. Because honestly, after the reaction that Roman got the night after WrestleMania, boy, he was told Roman sucks in two different dialects. He was called an asshole. People were saying fuck you, Roman. I mean, get a clue. You cannot engineer a star. It does not work like that. You know, I don't understand. Like, ever since Rock and Austin, WWE is like trying to play, Frankenstein with their stars. You can't do it that way. It doesn't work that way. You have to let it grow organically. And I've said that time and time again. Let these guys grow organically on the crowd. Look at what's happened with the fashion police. That is a perfect fucking example. People used to not give two shits about the fashion police. And now they're like, oh my God, it's the fashion police. And do you want to know why? A, because they're talented. Fandango and Tyler Breeze were both very talented coming out of NXT. And I don't think Jericho is going to work with a guy, especially at WrestleMania, that didn't have any damn talent. And then Tyler, I have to say, I would have thought he would be much, much higher on the totem pole at this point. But even still, I think he should be a tag team champ soon. I'm hoping at SummerSlam that we're done with the New Day, and then the Fashion Police get their heyday, and then we get the Fashion Police versus New Day. Because honestly, I like the Usos. I like what they're doing. But I think it is up to the WWE to keep the systematic destruction of their tag team division from becoming an implosion, just like the cruiserweight division. The reason their ratings are low are because they are destroying their own divisions. Like, look at what happened with the Vaudevillains. They fired one, so now the other one is a singing pussy. You get, and he's been jobbed out 3 times to Ty Dillinger, 3 times to Randy Orton. He's been jobbed out like the last 5 or 6 times he's been sent out there. Like, I'm going to be honest, this guy should be looking for work elsewhere. And I hate to say it, but maybe he should think about Ring of Honor. Anyway, let's get to Great Balls of Fire. So, your match card. Come on. So we've got okay. We have Neville versus Tozawa, and this is not in order, obviously, but I will try to keep it in the order it will more than likely be in. And we've got Neville versus Tozawa for the Cruiserweight Championship, and this is the pre-show. Here's the thing. I do not think they are going to change titles on a pre-show. Granted, the WWE does not think much of the title to begin with. So, I don't know what is really the issue here, but I want Tozawa to win, but my guess is more than likely that Neville's going to win this one. Until they put talent into that division, Neville's going to own that title. Neville may own that title until there is no more cruiserweight division, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, then we have Cesaro and Sheamus versus the Hardy Boys in an Iron Man match for the Raw Tag Team Championship. Here's the thing. We know already that Cesaro is about to be out for a couple months filming this movie, The Buddy Games. Obviously, they're losing the titles. And they obviously want to go out in style. I think the Hardy Boys, with their Spot Boy addictions, wanted to do something different. I have not seen them in an Iron Man match, or at least do not remember the last time that they were in an Iron Man match. So, okay. My prediction's probably the Hardy Boys here. I think they will get the titles back. As far as who's going to challenge them on Raw, my hope is the Revival, because we haven't seen hide nor hair of them since, I don't know, for at least a month. I mean, you know, they're not injured anymore, and they are a duo at this point, you know, so they could be top guys doing top guy things if they wanted to. But we'll see what happens at this point. Then we've got Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's Championship. This is definitely a head scratcher. Alexa Bliss has had the title since Extreme Rules. Now, that's May and June. So, if I'm going to be perfectly honest here, I'm going to say Alexa probably retains, just because I don't think they're ready to take it off her yet. If Sasha Banks wins going into SummerSlam, that means we're probably going to see a program with them going into the fall. If that ends up being the case, then that should make for some interesting programming, because these are two women that are definitely willing to get down and dirty. That they, you know, you put freaking Sasha Banks in a kendo stick match, she's gonna use it. I don't think, I mean, I don't know what the hell Bailey is at this point. Little wuss, little priss. You know, I despise what they've turned Bailey into. It's just like, ugh. You make me want to puke every time I hear you. Roses are red, violets are blue. Get off my fucking television, you schmo. Anyway, you have Enzo Amore versus Big Cass, which is, in my opinion, should have been the pre-show match. There's only one way this match should end. And I'm telling this to you right now because out of concern for the tag team division. You cannot split these guys up. You can't. Because if you do, you are screwing the tag team division out of a face tag team. You have these guys fight. Then you have the Revival jump them. You give them a mutual enemy. And while they may hate each other, they will hate the other one more. That is how you end this. Because if you do not end this that way, then you are just screwing your tag team division up the ass in a bad way. So there is no reason to do it that way. Don't be stupid, WWE, because I've seen you make some pretty stupid decisions lately. Then you have Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns in an ambulance match. This is another one I've been hearing conflicting reports on, especially between Dave Meltzer and Sportskeeda. Meltzer is saying that Roman's going to win and Brock's going to win his match, and then they're going to face each other at SummerSlam, and Sportskeeda is saying the opposite. I'm going to be bold here and say that Braun wins. I think Braun is going to win because people are tired of Roman. I mean, how many times can you really listen to people in the crowd say, "Thank you, Strowman," when he's beating the shit out of Roman Reigns before you finally get the point that the Roman Reigns initiative isn't going to work? So let's just leave it at that. And I hope that, we're watching Roman Reigns getting packed into an ambulance on Sunday. Then you have The Miz versus Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental title. I almost don't give a shit. I really don't, because this has been like a 6-month feud between those two with maybe a month and a half interval with Baron Corbin fighting Roman Reigns. Or not Roman Reigns, excuse me. Baron Corbin fighting The Miz. The Miz. Excuse me. Baron Corbin fighting Dean Ambrose. I remember when he smashed him with that forklift. It was classic. But the fact of the matter is that I just don't like this, especially without. There's so many elements that are missing here. There's no flair, there's no pizzazz, there's no attention. And here's the thing. There have been something like 3 or 4 Miz TV segments over the last, I want to say, 4 or 5 weeks. How many Miz TV segments are we going to have now that he's on Raw? Really? How many rock concerts or Cena raps did we get when they were on Raw and there was a brand split? Not that many. Obviously, drilling a gimmick into the fucking ground is not a good thing. Do I think making Axel and Bo Dallas a part of his entourage is a good idea? Yeah, give them something to fucking do. If you're not going to have them wrestle, let them beat the shit out of whoever. Who do I think should win? That's a good question. I honestly don't want either one of these guys as Intercontinental Champion at this point. Because I don't see what more The Miz has to prove on that level. But at the same time, Miz isn't on the fucking level of Brock Lesnar. He's never going to walk into a ring with Brock Lesnar and wrestle that King of Safe style kind of crap and actually get away with it. It's never going to happen. So, but at the same time, Dean Ambrose, it's been done. And he is a decent champion, but I agree to some level on what Stone Cold said about a year ago on the Stone Cold podcast. That he sort of is just this popcorn, funny haha guy who's sort of rested on his laurels a bit. A lot of people were calling him the next Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now he's just kind of bleh about it. I mean, come on. Look at what happened with the LeVar Ball segment. That did not go off very well. It just it just doesn't seem to me like the LeVar Ball segment went all that well. And you can't really make that all the fault of Dean Ambrose. It's the creative that is writing this shit for Dean Ambrose. So maybe you should tell creative, stop trying to make him the Joker and make him more the fucking Batman. Have him come in and whoop somebody's ass. I mean, that's the Dean Ambrose I want to see. I don't want to see this guy who's just acting like an R-Truth. In fact, that's another funny thing that's not even on this card. Is Goldust versus R-Truth. Like, that's kind of pathetic. I mean, unfortunately, Goldust, with all the hard work he's put in, and all the hard work that R-Truth has put in, has meant pretty much nothing. I don't want that to be the case, but that is the case. Then, of course, for the WWE Championship, it's Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe. There is only one way this should go after all the work that Samoa Joe has put into this. Joe wins. Period. If Joe does not win tomorrow, then I'm going to be very, very disappointed with the WWE. The WWE, obviously, do not trap us on this. If you trap us on this, then it becomes just him keeping the title in purgatory for at least another month, if not another 6 months. Is that the way you want the Universal title to be remembered in the annals of history? That some fucker kept it in purgatory because he didn't want to wrestle? Like, I'm almost glad that Brock Lesnar's contract is up, because he is one of he's the biggest guy. He's also one of the most useless. He won't wrestle on Raw. He barely wrestles on pay-per-views. And the guy just, he's got all the bells and whistles with him. Paul Heyman sure as hell supports him. The problem is he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand that having a relationship in the locker room And having a relationship with the fans is an important thing to do. And you're not going to build that relationship with the fans if you do not wrestle on Monday night. You cannot be doing that. Now, there's conflicting, reports about what's going to happen here. And it boggles the mind, because after the work that Joe has put into this, because of what happened, because this was originally supposed to be Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar from the get-go at Great Balls of Fire. Can't believe that's a fucking pay-per-view name. But the truth here is that they gave Joe the ball and he ran deep with it. So if I'm WWE, I do not discredit that. I at least give him a one-off with the title, and then start, thinking, do we want this guy to hold the belt per se until Survivor Series? Or maybe the Rumble. Because I could see Joe as a 6-month champion. That is very fucking believable. I do not want the belt held in purgatory. It's not what I want. I want to see it defended. So that is what I want. I'll have more news and reaction. Let me see if I got anything else here for you guys. I think there was one more note that yeah. WrestleZone had a list, and this is not news at this point, but in case you haven't heard it, the Mae Young Classic list. Some of these matches have already taken place. They will be showing instead of once a week like they did with the Cruiserweight Classic, they're going to be showing them in little waves of episodes. So the first wave comes on July 13th and 14th, and it will come from Full Sail University. Good. And some of the names in here, I gotta say, I've gotten to look at some of these women, and you can watch this again and figure out the names. Some look very muscular, and some look very model-esque. But we've seen from people like Dana Brooke versus people like Alexa Bliss. Doesn't matter how you look. You can be a badass and still be 5 feet of fury. Anyway, these women are Abby Laith, I believe is the way that's pronounced, and I apologize if I butcher your name ahead of time. Tessa Blanchard, Tiarna Conti, I believe is the way that one was pronounced. Toni Storm, Sarah Logan, Lacey Evans, Princessa Suisse, Jazzy Gabbard, and Kavita Devi. So those are a few of the people. I believe those were the people that were competing during that set of tapings. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more to be announced. But they did this past week on NXT show some video of what's going on with the Mae Young Classic. And it looks like it's going to be good. My big question, and I guess I'll discuss this more at a later date, maybe on in the next show or two, what are the stakes going to be for the Mae Young Classic? So keep that one on your mind, and hopefully all of this recorded. So thank you, and I'm out.